Due to copyright, I can't publish many audiobooks on YouTube. At our audiobook novel service, we offer access to over 300 full novels from Pocket FM, Webnovel, Audible, Wuxia, and more, all in high-quality audio format. Each novel is available with a one-time payment only. No subscriptions, no monthly payment, and no ads. Payments via PayPal or Ko-fi. To browse the full list of available novels, message me directly on Telegram or WhatsApp, or check out our full catalog on Discord. Chapter 492, Iliad's Act. Thank you, Vicky, Amira said, happily grabbing the candied apple Victor gave her as they toured the local market doing some shopping. Just call me Big Brother, Victor said as he just casually ruffled her hair. He had no idea when she started calling him that, but she seemed to find the name Victor a little too hard to pronounce. Amira nodded. He could only sigh as he continued their journey. He appeared completely normal, but in fact, he was keeping one eye on the road while using the blood slave connection to watch how Nianra was arranging her kin. Although he told her that he was going to call her, he didn't do so last night. Yesterday he was in a hurry to get things done before hurting back. But after thinking things through, it occurred to him that it couldn't be a coincidence that the spot the Storm Lord chose for him was just north of that secret demon's base. It was just too convenient to be a coincidence, so he decided to not do a thing for now and just watch. He might be overthinking things, but he did promise himself to be careful. So, for now, he was just going to watch. He expected Nianra to stumble a little without his guidance, but to his surprise, she didn't. She didn't need his help at all. She sneaked into that company building by herself, found the manager seal she left for her, and using it she forged all kinds of documents transferring the company's management to herself. This reminded him that he didn't really check her background. This girl was hiding more secrets than he expected. Maybe he should really leave her to her own devices for now. You seem absent-minded, someone called for Victor, making him turn to the side and then smile. Aerith, I didn't expect to see you here, he said in surprise, looking at his horny wife who wore her signature armor and face mask that she used in public. The pedestrians all moved in as they noticed her, giving way to her as she walked toward Victor. Sorry, I couldn't come home last night. I've been busy transferring things to my lieutenant who will take my place, she said, looking to the side where a familiar female knight stood glaring at Victor. This was the same one that offered him a hand job before, though he didn't get the chance to take her up on her offer. It's okay. Finished with all that, he asked. He did expect her to be busy. In fact, he was counting on that to move freely. Not really, just a few final things are left. Aerith sighed. It is just that lass, Lyra, who knows where she went dumping all the work onto me. She might be saying goodbye to her boyfriend or something, Victor said. Like she would have one. Aerith sighed. One can't really tell, young girls grow too fast. You sound like an old man. He chuckled. Anyways, shall I prepare the bed in the mansion tonight for your return? He asked with a smirk, looking at the female knight. Idiot, Aerith said, punching his shoulder. I will not be back until morning. You can go sample a few more local goods, she spat as she remembered something before grabbing the female knights and walking away. Okay, Victor chuckled, watching her leave. Sini did an amazing job last night. In fact, it was so amazing that he became the talk of the town. That female elf really worked hard not to shame him. A bit too hard, actually. Many of the prostitutes who she slept with kept praising both his strap-on size and his stamina. Well, it was his fault for leaving her there for 5 straight hours. Her scent is wrong, Amira, who was holding his hand, suddenly said, alerting Victor. What? Who? He asked. Big Sis Eri. It is like her smell is wrong. She always had a strange smell, but this is somehow wrong, she said, leaning her head to the side as if she couldn't describe it. What? Victor was taken aback. Still, he didn't doubt Amira El back then also had this thing with smells, so he turned to look at Aerith and activated his appraisal skill. Then almost gasped. There were 2 new entries. Abnormal condition. Parasite infection, the red demonizes warm, larva phase, SS. Disguise stigma, SSS. Target, parasite infections, hide the target from appraisal by anyone who has less than 32277, authority. Victor squinted his eyes, utilizing his Akashic Schooler class. The red demonicus worm, a demonic parasitic worm native to the abyss. Has 3 growth stages. Egg form, sesame-sized, very rough, and has razor-sharp edges, can withstand heat and cold until it comes into contact with a living organism's flesh. Can survive up to 5,000 years. Larva, completely undetectable by normal means. Needs 99 days to grow into an adult and integrate with the host. Effect, causes the host to have fast healing ability at the expense of their lifespan. Adult worm can self-fertilize. Causes the host's bloodline to grow stronger and affects the host's mood and behavior. Can never be removed without killing the host. The eggs will be extruded with poop for the rest of the host's life. The eggs are delicious after roasting on open flame. That's nasty, especially that last fact. Although this parasite didn't have any bad effects, for Aerith it would be disastrous. It might cause her to go berserk due to her demonic bloodline. It was easy for Victor to tell who was behind this. It was clearly the Storm Lord who had exactly 32,277 authority points. Disguise skills and effects usually copy their host's authority as a requirement for disabling them. The Storm Lord was under the contract not to harm Aerith and the others, but by using this worm she would not be the one doing any harm. Victor had difficulty hiding his own angry expression as he read the info. Vicky, Amira pulled his hand. Ah. Sorry, I was just distracted, he said, ruffling her hair. You really saved me there, he said. Although he was sure he would have realized this parasite sooner or later even without Amira's help. Knowing about it early did give him an edge. Amira nodded as she bit into her apple. Let's go buy a few more things, he said. I have a lot of young girls working hard at my mansion, do you have any idea what they might like? He asked, ignoring the random passerby who heard him and turned to look at what kind of pervert he was. Amira tilted her head before shaking it. Apples? We have a lot of those there. Let's have a look around, he said, continuing their shopping. He acted as if nothing had happened, but deep in his mind he was already planning things up for his escape from this world. The moment he left, the Storm Lord would no longer be bound by their contract. Pam. The thundering sound of the stick reverberated within the cavern lit by strange green gems. At the same time, a poor three-headed wolf fell dead with just one kick to its private parts. It couldn't take the shock of having them turn into mush. Kuue. Can't you aim for some other part? Zoe, who also finished killing 2 hellwolves, complained with disgust. I would have if it was a female, but it wasn't, so this way is faster. Kuue replied as she used a cloth to whip away the metallic pointy end of her boot. Zoe didn't know how to refute that. If Kuue had met Lily before, she would have thought she learned it from her. But she didn't get to meet any of Victor's wives. I think Miss Kuue's opinion has more than an aspect of truth to it. To survive this treacherous world, one should always aim for the most efficient method, a young man who was fighting beside them said. That's only when facing monsters though. Fights among humans should be honorable in my humble opinion. Young Master Iliad, for the 10th time, please stop following us. Zoe complained, not caring about his mumblings. I am not. In fact, by how many times we bumped into each other, I am beginning to suspect you are the ones doing me the honor by following me. Iliad Queen replied, flashing them a bright smile. Are you? We are not. Zoe replied flusteredly, looking away. Maybe it was really all a coincidence, as she already tried to check for anyone following many times and failed. Maybe fate has something to do with it. Iliad chuckled. Why don't we just hunt together? No need, you seem to be doing just fine on your own. Zoe spat. Lady Zoe, why are you so persistent in shunning me? May I know whether I did anything to your displeasure? Iliad asked as if he was feeling a little offended. No. It is not your fault. Zoe quickly took a step back. True, Iliad, since they met him until now, was nothing less than a gentleman. I just don't enjoy the company of men. Ah. I had no idea. I am very sorry. Watch out, he suddenly yelled, jumping forward. Zoe, who was taken aback, had no chance to react as he stood between her and a giant 2-headed python that was disguising itself as a rock under her own feet. HSSSSSSSSSSSS. Bam. Kuue acted fast and grabbed the python's 2 necks with her fists, striking its head with the ground, but it was not fast enough as a third head that was hidden in the tail zipped right past her. Pam. She pulled it hard and struck the third head between her knee and the ground, squishing it before looking back. Iliad was standing there, looking at his forearm. On it he had 2 strange-looking black dots that began to expand at a visible rate in the form of black veins that began to fill his arm, clearly reaching for his chest. It's poisonous. Zoe yelled. Iliad, hearing her, quickly came to his senses and took a dispelling pill, but it didn't seem to work at all, as in a matter of seconds the black veins became visible on his neck. Oops. I messed up, he said before his eyes rolled back and he fell to the ground. He didn't get to hit it though, as Zoe quickly hugged him with a complex look in her eyes. Young Master Iliad, she called for him, but he didn't respond. We should hurry back. She turned to Kuue and spoke. Kuue, who was looking at the python in her hand, frowned. Sis Zoe. Why did young Master Iliad not use a sword? If I were in his place, I would have placed my sword in between myself and it. Kuue. Sometimes in fights, people make wrong choices, especially when they are flustered. Zoe bit her lip and blushed, looking at the fainted Iliad. Come on, help me with him, we must move. Affirmative. Kuue, who was not convinced, nodded. She felt something was wrong, but she couldn't put her finger on it. And after spending much time with Zoe, she tended to trust her completely. I will use a hastening talisman, so we should be able to reach the entrance in 23 hours if we move non-stop. She paused as she hugged Iliad with one hand and drew her sword with another while looking back. At the same time, Kuue took a defensive position, pointing her brass knuckles toward the newcomer. There on the far exit of the cavern they were, a heroic girl was standing in a flashy white armor. I have to say this. I didn't expect to meet an acquaintance here at all, let alone 2 of them. Fate really works in strange ways, she said with a sweet smile. It must be Master's grace, she added to herself. Mana. Or are you Mina? Zoe asked with a frown as she recognized the girl in front of her as one of Victor's wives. Ah. We never met before, not in this continuum anyway, the girl, who didn't even care to brandish the large sword she was holding on her back, said. My name is Mona, I am Mana's and Mina's sister. They're triplet. Their sister? Triplet? Zoe asked, keeping her vigilance. Yup. Mona nodded with a smile. She was clearly in a good mood. Wait, is that guy your boyfriend or something? She asked as she looked at the fainted Iliad in Zoe's embrace. Just an acquaintance. He just risked his life to save me. Zoe replied, keeping her vigilance. For all she knew, Mona could be some demon or monster that used deception. Kuu, who was moving to surround Mona from the back, felt the same. Why is he faking fainting? Mona asked. Not caring about Kuu. Is it some kind of role play that you guys do? He is not fainting. He was poisoned, Zoe quickly explained. No, he is not. In fact, he is perfectly healthy. Mona said, her expression growing solemn as she looked at him. Listen, pal, you better stop acting or I will make you regret it, she said as she brandished her sword. Pam. Out of nowhere, Kuu, who was already in position, attacked her, aiming her kick at Mona's hand to disarm her. This might have worked on someone else, but sadly for her, Mona simply moved at the last moment and simply grabbed her leg in midair. Cool, you should keep out of this, your level is still too low, she said as an electric shock spread from her hand, electrocuting Kuu, who didn't even get to say anything before she collapsed to the ground. Completely paralyzed. You, Zoe swallowed. It's been ages since we fought, Mona turned to Zoe and said as she tilted her neck, cracking it. My body has been advancing very fast, a little warm-up will be a good thing, she said before vanishing. Pam. YYY. Two swords, one slim and one broad, slid against each other as Zoe defended against Mona, who appeared behind her. Despite your low level, you are as observant as ever. Mona smiled as she struck with her large sword again and again. It was as if it was completely weightless. How do you know me? Zoe asked as she took Mona's hits one by one. Her hand was getting numb. How can't I? We are sisters after all. Mona said. It was clear she was having fun still. I almost got carried away. Sorry about that, but I am on a tight schedule. Pam. Zoe felt her stomach cave in as Mona used her knee to hit her there. It was an impossible move that she didn't see coming. An electrical current passed through her body, and the next moment she felt her head hit the ground, her body fully paralyzed. You still need a lot of work to get back into shape. Your basics are passable, but your techniques are rubbish. Master would have left something in the tower for you though, she mumbled as she walked toward the collapsed Iliad. His entire face had already turned blue with poison. She reached for him and pulled him up from his neck, then began to move her other hand around his body, finally fishing a golden token out of one of his inner pockets. The heavenly sect, she frowned looking at Iliad. Why are you after Zoe? She asked. Iliad, who was naturally unconscious, didn't answer. This is getting boring, you know. Should I start with your fingers or go straight for your penis? Iliad was unmoved. With two moves of a small dagger that appeared in her hand, Iliad lost his pants first, then his little brother. It fell to the floor just like that in a pool of blood as the paralyzed Zoe and Kuu looked in shock. They wanted to scream for her to stop this madness, but their mouths didn't move. You were fine with that? She asked in shock. Iliad held to his unconsciousness with pure sheer will. All right? You guys should have the glass sarcophagus. So you can grow it back. Mona said as she remembered something. You are really something. Should I kill you? Like that would work? The moment your soul leaves your body, it would be captured by the heavenly curse and brought back to the sect. Constructing your body would be a hassle, but since you have a golden token, you should be fine, she said. You guys are really the most troublesome. No wonder Master always cursed at you. You must be surprised how I know all this, she asked as Zoe and Kuu watched her crazy performance. Listen. I am getting bored here, so this is your last chance. Why are you after Zoe, going as far as withstanding all this humiliation? Suit yourself, she said as she grabbed the dead python from the ground and then forcefully shoved it into his mouth, followed by a black pill that appeared in her hand. Finishing with that, she threw Iliad to the ground. 1, 2, 3. Not bad. 4, 5. It must be really rampaging now. 6. Don't worry, it will not kill you. 7, 8. Now I am really impressed. 9, 10. Are you going to beat the record? She asked as she counted like a madwoman. 11, 12. And the grand prize goes to... No, please stop it. Please, Iliad, who couldn't keep his act, finally broke down, grabbing his head in pain. Zoe and Kuu were in shock. Answer my question. Why are you after Zoe? Mona said, making a sigil with her left hand. Almost immediately it was as if Iliad calmed down a bit. I just fell in love with her at first. And... I can tell if you lie, you know? Mona said nonchalantly as if she was used to men suffering under her feet. Stop. This torture technique is called the lost-in procedure. It uses the corpse of the vanquished monster to try and fuse with victim's body. But since it is considered dead by the system, the victim's body would start to be erased. At the same time, the system would try to preserve it since it is not to be removed. In the end, nothing would happen, but the pain would be unimaginable. Especially as it grows to fill the entire body. As your nerves keep getting repaired by the system, they never grow dull. The pain is always fresh. even if you have a technique for disabling pain. With the erasure and rebuilding, all effects are reset. Mona explained, ignoring Iliad's screams. It was created by Master to make demons confess. Those guys are very tight-lipped, but even them can't withstand it. Speak, she said, making a sigil with her hand to slow down the corpse she controlled inside Iliad and lessen the pain. My master, he wants me to make her fall in love with me. I need to impregnate her also. Ah, your master's name? Mona interrupted. The F.A. Piambo. In a split second, Mona threw 5 talismans and stepped back, just as Iliad's head puffed up then exploded into a fiery ball. Thankfully, it was contained in time. Shit. That was close, she said as she watched Iliad's body get completely eroded by the system. Never expected him to have that kind of curse. Well, I guess I will have to ask him if we meet again, she said as she looked back toward the shocked Zoe. We need to talk. You must have a lot of questions, and rightly so. Mona said as she walked toward her. And as I explain things to you, you two will help me hunt a little piece of shit. Chapter 493, Space Portal. The sun was setting as Victor, Aerith, Lyra, Amira, Rosette, Ariana, Mirai, Meryl and Massel stood at the entrance of her palace. Your master is late, Ariana commented. She couldn't wait to leave this backward world back into the comfort of modern society. Are you sure he said at noon? Aerith asked as she looked at the desolate palace. As they were leaving this world, they had already sent all the servants away after paying them a hefty reward. These were their last moments in this world, and she was at first a little nostalgic, but that had already passed hours ago and now she was plain bored. He can get a little late sometimes, Victor began to say just as the air around them shimmered and an old man appeared out of thin air. Almost immediately everyone felt a pressure forcing their body down. Aerith was used to it, but Rosette, Ariana and Mirai, who were meeting this mysterious master for the first time, felt a little taken aback. Master, Victor quickly greeted. Sorry, the girls just wouldn't let me leave, the master said. I can't just leave them without fully satisfying them. Master, please spare me the details. Kids these days, the master shook his head. Don't worry, I set the appointment to be a little early just in case. The best time to cross is now, he said as he waved his hand, and out of thin air a large structure made out of black obsidian beams appeared in front of them. It looked like a giant gate frame with all kinds of talismans pasted around it. Creating this thing was difficult, so be grateful, he spat. Are those dragon bones? Aerith couldn't help but ask as she inspected the gate's beams. Yes. They are of the lowest grade, but finding big ones like those is hard, the master nodded. Are you ready? Once we leave this world, it will be very hard, almost impossible to go back here for the next 20 years. 20 years? Rosette couldn't help but ask. At that time, travel between worlds would become a little easier, the master said mysteriously. Now step back a little. Wait, someone suddenly called, making everyone turn to the side toward the palace's entrance where a young man and young woman came running. Curious. What are you doing here? Lyra asked flusteredly as she didn't dare look at her mother or sister. I want to go too, me and my sister already have many enemies here. And I want to be of help to you, he told Lyra, holding her hands before turning to face Rosette. Lady Rosette, please allow us to come too, he bowed. Curious, Lyra bit her lip as Aerith and her mother opened their mouths wide. Was this the little man-hater they knew? It seemed like Victor was right. Curious, right? You can come, the master suddenly said. Master, Victor acted as if he wanted to complain. This guy has a fate in Trilaria, he will find his way there one way or another, the master said, wondering if he was going to watch a love triangle between Tulip, Lyra and Curious in the future. Well, it is not his business. No, wait. Vic might also be one of her future husbands. Like that would ever happen. After we go there, you better behave and Victor will take care of you and your sister, the master added after a brief pause. Having a scion owe him a favor was a good thing. I understand. Curious said, looking at the master with gratitude before nodding to his sister who was blushing due to her brother's rash behavior. Still, she also looked toward Lyra with gratitude as she was the one who saved her from slavery back at the auction. Does anyone else want to go? The master asked, looking up to the sky. No one answered, including the Storm Lord who was watching with annoyance. She was waiting for them to leave so she could be free from the contract. Suit yourselves, the master chuckled as he stepped toward the gate and took out a rabbit's corpse. It was a strange-looking demonic rabbit with a split mouth. He put it on the floor and then flicked his finger, lighting it on fire. Moments later the flames spread, climbing into midair until it filled the entire gate. Poof! It turned off all at once, leaving a black smoke that began to form what looked like a vortex that had some very strange fluctuations around it. The gate is a little unstable, you have to make a leap of faith right into the middle. Don't resist at all, the master said. What are you waiting for? Come on. Let's go. Victor was the first to jump with Amira, who automatically held his hand. Whoosh! He vanished. The master nodded. Come on, I can't leave this open for too long, he said with a little tired voice. Aerith thought for a moment, then jumped after Victor. Mirai and Ariana followed. Meryl and Massel, holding each other's hands, were next. Lyra gestured to Curious, who nodded then jumped with his sister. The last one standing was Rosette, who turned and bowed toward the storm in the distance before going into the gate. The master nodded, then quickly followed. The moment he entered the gate, the entire structure vanished into thin air. Your Highness, Naga, who entered the throne room, bowed politely, then frowned, looking at the Storm Lord's annoyed expression. Is everything all right, master? She asked as her master frowned. I am fine. It is just a guy acting a little sneaky, trying to fool me. The Storm Lord, who was carefully watching what was going on in Rosette's place, smirked. Although I have no idea where he is hiding, the moment he leaves this world I will catch him. Is there anything? It is about the library's vault. The artisan couldn't open it. He said that the joints seemed to be melted by some very corrosive material that he had never seen before, and it would take at least 15 days for him to clear them. Melted? Corrosive material? The Storm Lord frowned. That poisonous bastard might have left something in there after all. It is my fault for neglecting that place. Make them hurry and unlock it. Ah! Understood, Naga said as his head turned fast. How the hell was she supposed to make the artisan who was working as fast as possible work faster? Should she sleep with him, or should she kidnap his family? All of a sudden an explosion startled both the Storm Lord and Naga, making both turn to a side wall that shimmered and then vanished to reveal a window overlooking the capital. There in the distance, they could see smoke going out of one of the administrative buildings. Boom. 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 It was followed by 9 other explosions all around the capital. Before the Storm Lord could jump from her seat, the demon-detecting sirens began to sound. Master. Smart move. But this little distraction will never work on me, the Storm Lord spat. Naga, take care of things here, she said before vanishing. Let go of me. This is an assault on the Von Weiss family's rights. You bastards, my young master will never forget you. He will fuck up all of your mothers. Lily, who began to use some very nasty words as she was dragged into the ceremony room, was quickly gagged by one of the elders who couldn't take it anymore. She was just too foul-mouthed. Is she really your daughter? Catalia asked her husband as she watched Lily, who was almost completely naked, futilely resist the guards who dragged her toward the altar. She was a little reluctant to come back here, but after the news of Lily and Julian's return, she decided to put her grudges against the Von Krone family aside and come attend the cleansing ritual. If you spot this narrative on Amazon, know that it has been stolen. Report the violation. Yes, Aaron sighed. The DNA test never lies, and she is as beautiful as you are, he said gently, putting his hand around his wife's shoulder. She shot him a glare. You mean as your Aunt Venus? Kinda, he quickly withdrew his hand. Can't they treat her kindly? As you can see, she is not cooperating at all, going as far as to bite one of the elders' ears, he sighed. Julian did warn them that she was a biter. We already showed her the facts about her origins, but she completely refuses to cooperate. But that is to be expected. She was raised in another family, after all, you know how brainwashed she might be. Catalia nodded. In fact, this procedure was invented to treat people like her who get so involved in their journey that it begins to affect them badly, he continued. I am just worried what kind of side effects it will have on her, Catalia said. The last time I trusted your family with something, it didn't go exactly well. Ah, that was an oversight. Don't worry, everyone here knows what they are doing. After the cleaning, all of her memories of the past would no longer affect her. Although she would appear a little robotic for a while, after a year or so she would be completely normal, he replied. You can ask Julian. Although his cleansing wasn't as powerful as the one they will use on Lily, it should be the same. Catalia just sighed. She met Julian earlier, and he was as useless as she remembered him to be. Well, at least his heart was in the right place as he kept asking her about his other younger daughter Tulip. He clearly grew up to be the kind who took familial relationships seriously, just like his elder brother. He also mentioned something about finding some girl that he was interested in. She needed to look up Alice Von Weiss ASAP, as she was not going to let the Von Krone family manipulate them ever again. Now stop moving. An elder with a bandage on his ear scolded Lily as he secured her with chains to a golden pole atop an altar that was in the middle of a large hall. Lily tried to act as aggressively as possible while inspecting the cleansing room with her eyes. It was the same as she remembered from her trip in the other timeline. This place was one of the most important places in her family. Although nowadays it was only being used for cleansing, it had a ton of other usages that would only come into light after the demons invaded this world. This altar can not only remove curses and the like, but it can also remove demonic possession and return the shattered souls to their original form. In fact, one of the reasons Victor didn't make her a blood slave was because it would be cancelled when she goes through the ritual. And it might even cause him a backlash. She sighed as she slowly calmed down. Not entirely, she kept glaring at one of the elders who was looking around in a suspicious way. This guy worked for her uncle, and if her guess was correct, he would try to sabotage the cleansing, maybe altering the erase slightly to damage her soul. Well, it didn't matter. As if resigning to her fate, she closed her eyes and listened to the High Elder making a speech. Lily Von Krone, today we wash you of your past so that you might live your true self. As per the souls of those who passed. As he began to mumble stupid things, Lily ignored him as she secretly activated her bloodline. Her skills should have been all locked by a talisman, but her bloodline wasn't. As someone who saw the future, she knew of a technique to activate her bloodline skills without going through the system. It was a little tricky, but by remembering the feeling she spent a lot of time getting familiar with, she could do it. What was important now was the timing. She watched as the elders finished their mumblings and then began to activate the altar, making it begin to shine with a warm light. She knew this light would soon burn her very soul and separate it from her own memories. Closing her eyes activated her bloodline skill, timeless incantation. This thing was very costly, and usually going even 5 minutes to the past would drain her of all of her energy, but she was not going to the past, but to the future, so it was a lot easier. The moment her skill activated, she was no longer in her body, but a crow that flew upward and perched on the side of the altar, watching as if on speed up. The world around her moved. Everything from her body getting drowned by that light, to the sneaky elder activating a talisman to make the cleansing 1,000 times stronger, to her parents who were worriedly watching from the side. The cleaning took 169 minutes before the light faded and Lily prepared to fly back into her own body. Then it happened. Whoa-ish. The light that faded strengthened again, forcing everyone in the room to step back. Even Crow Lily felt some pressure from it, but before she could understand what happened, it all ended in a split second. Everyone looked at each other, not sure what happened. Lily, who felt that she was losing connection with her body for some reason, didn't dare to hesitate as she flew back immediately and entered her own consciousness, ending the skill's activation. She succeeded. She wanted to quickly open her eyes and act as if she was lost or something, but for some reason she couldn't. She was completely drained, as if her energy had just gone through something big. And there in her mind, there were all kinds of new memories. They were about her, but yet foreign, as if she was watching some other version of her, like a movie. It took her a moment to understand what those were and realize many things. So, it was another timeline after all. A timeline where she was not Lily the assassin of the von Weiss family, but Liliera von Krone, the first disciple of the Spirit Empress and her heir. Still, that world was not a place she would ever want to go back to, as Victor didn't exist in it. Victor laughed as he watched the capital burn from his hiding space. Using the chaos, he successfully borrowed a few things before leaving. The gate earlier was all fake. Rosette and the others didn't cross back to Trilaria, but into his cauldron, where they lost consciousness the moment they entered. He planned to keep them there and transport them safely. This was the best way. Using a hidden path that he charted in the past few days, he made his way out of the capital, heading east while avoiding using any skills that might expose him. Thankfully, due to the death thread around his neck, he could make sure that the Storm Lord was not aware of his position. When she focused on him, that thread usually turned darker. In fact, he tried devouring this thread to get rid of it, but for some reason he gained nothing and the thread materialized in seconds. He was not sure about it, but it seemed like devouring threads had a lot more to do with it than he expected. Anyway, his trip was a long one. After traveling far enough from the capital while staying low, literally, he was disguised as a lizard. He changed into an eagle and began to fly. It took him 10 entire hours to finally enter the desert again. Here he was out of the Storm Lord and into the Sun Lord's domain. Another 20 hours were needed to cross the desert and finally reach the Death Gorge. Heading as southern as possible to keep away from the Sun Lord's investigation teams that were still searching for him and randomly hunting for suspicious-looking elven horses. After finding a good place hidden between a few large rocks, he activated his disguise skills to their fullest before slowly activating his demonic and draconic bloodline and then jumping down. It was clear, but this place was the safest place to hide his gate, as no one would be able to find it, and even if they did, no one would be able to cross it. The only drawback would be that if he wanted to send someone here, he would need to do it by himself, but he was ready to do that in order to avoid many risks. A trip here every few months wouldn't really bother him. It took him a while to finally reach the spot where he first met Amira and pull her out from the cauldron. "We are here," he said, brushing her hair. "Choose a spot." Amira nodded, then pulling his hand she guided him into a cave to one side. It was different from the one where he felt the death energy, as this one was the opposite, with the death energy here much weaker. "Did you stay here before?" he asked as he noticed a small pond to the side. She nodded, pointing to a rock. "There," she said. Victor nodded, then using a shovel he began to dig. It took him 30 minutes to make a 10-foot deep hole. "This should be deep enough," he said before moving his hand and making 3 coffins containing 3 people appear in the hall side by side. They were clean and dressed in traditional elven garbs as if they were sleeping. Those were Amira's parents and elder brother. After she regained her memories, she found them between the thousands of corpses Victor kept in his cauldron and asked him to help her bury them. Victor thought for a moment, then took 3 flowers from his storage ring. "Those should bloom even here," he told Amira, who kept her eyes on them. Still she didn't cry. She nodded, taking the death flower, a rare plant native to Death Valley, and placing one on each corpse before beginning to push the dirt with her small hands. Victor quickly helped her, finishing in an hour. Although he was in a hurry, he had to give the little girl some time to say her goodbyes. "This is for their best," he told her before turning to the graves where he put 3 engraved headstones. "Do you need some time?" he asked Amira, who kept looking down. "No. Let's go. Enter the cauldron then." "The trip will be dangerous," he said, making Amira vanish immediately as she didn't resist at all. Looking at the grave, he bowed politely. "Don't worry, I will take care of her," he told them before turning and leaving. The first thing he checked was the very dangerous cave, but even after he leveled up a few times, he couldn't even step inside without feeling like he would really die, so he could only turn and leave. He walked for another 10 minutes or so before he found another cave. This one was not at the ground level, but about 80 feet up in the gorge's wall, but the death energy in it was so thick that no sane guy other than him would dare walk inside. He jumped there, and after inspecting the place and making sure it was good enough, he headed to its deepest part where he took out a large orichalcum boulder. The moment it left his storage space, it fell to the ground and caused the entire cave to shake a bit. Although this thing was rare, at the end of the day it was just an expensive foraging material, so with Rosette's help he managed to obtain it under the guise of wanting to give it to a friend blacksmith. In fact, this thing was going to act as the anchor for his gate. He couldn't have asked the Storm Lord for it, lest she manipulated it somehow or left a trace on it. In fact, all the gate materials he asked for were fake, just things to sell later for a good profit. Making sure the boulder was in place, he took out a wooden stick and a stencil made out of wood and a jar of green goo. Although the working materials were a little primitive, he still quickly managed to engrave an array on the plate. The moment it was completed, he felt a strange ripple around, confirming that the sealing formation was complete. This array worked both for sealing and to hide the fluctuation in case someone was trying to find him. It was also a backup to make sure no one else would be able to use the gate if it was found, and that the death energy here wouldn't escape to Trilaria through it. Making sure everything was ready, he activated his disuse skill to hide everything just in case and put his hand on the plate. He closed his eyes and activated his space portal skill. Space portal skill activation. Specify anchors. Victor frowned and then began thinking about his wives and his blood slaves. 16 valid targets found. 4-dimensional folding is possible. Specify point B position. This time he thought about a certain cave behind the factory he stole from Nick. Although it was not the best place, the target must be a place he was familiar with, so he didn't have a lot of options. And Margaret should have already prepared it for him. Position determined. Distance requires 99841 authority points. Yes/no. He took a breath and pressed yes. Space portal Z4C24324 created. Owner, Vic Volt. WOOOOM, a familiar-looking crimson-colored gate materialized in front of him. It was just that as soon as it happened, he collapsed to the ground, feeling completely drained. It took him 8 hours to recover somehow after eating no less than 9 spurious-grade pills. Feeling energized again and making sure that the gate was stable, he gave the death thread around his neck one last look and then jumped. If you want access to fast updates or the full novel in high-quality audio, contact me now and buy. I offer over 300 complete audiobooks from Pocket FM, Webnovel, Audible, and more. No locked episodes, no subscriptions. Just one-time payment via PayPal or Ko-fi. Message me directly on Telegram or WhatsApp, or check out the full list of available novels on Discord. Start listening to your next favorite audiobook today.